Oh, God. I don't even want to talk about the game last night, guys. I really don't. It was rough. And, of course, if you know me, you know I'm talking about the Carolina Panthers getting a Week 2 primetime game on national television. And everybody in the world, essentially, or at least people who watch football, can see how difficult it is to be a Carolina Panthers fan. We got probably one of the most Panther games I've ever seen in my entire life last night. They somehow only lose this game by 3 points. So on paper, a very close game. I physically was in pain watching this game. I think I'm speaking for all Panther fans alike. I was in literal pain watching this football game yesterday. It was a very tough watch. Let me just get a clear conscience, take a deep breath here, and let's just talk about the game and what happened. So, the Carolina Panthers, of course, coming off a loss last week against the Atlanta Falcons. Kind of the same. 24-10 was that game, but felt like a game where the Panthers were just in an uphill battle, but just close enough. But then they still don't find a way to win. That's how all these games go for the Panthers. It's felt like since the Cam Newton days before that Thursday night game when he got sacked by TJ Watt and it destroyed his shoulder. The Carolina Panthers, games go typically one of two ways. They either have a big lead, they're playing really well, and they absolutely blow it, let the game fall apart, they beat themselves and they lose. Or, more so what happened yesterday, where the Panthers, they play pretty bad, the defense plays really well, and they keep it just close enough to give you a false sense of hope that there might be a shot that they win this game, and then they just don't. And then they don't. And that was last night. The Panthers somehow almost came this close to winning, but they never actually had a chance to get over the hump and actually win this game. And that is what happened last night. So we'll break down why that happened. So like I just talked about, the defense actually played pretty well. The Saints didn't have a whole lot of great drives. They were able to generate a turnover for the first time this year. Von Bell picked off Derek Carr, which then led to a short field opportunity for the Carolina Panthers, which then led to 0 points on the board. Typical. But I thought the defense played pretty well. There was no J.C. Horn in the game, and despite that, Derek Carr, a guy who statistically is probably going to finish as a top 10 all-time leader in passing yards. Derek Carr, who had over 300 passing yards last game, went 21 of 36, 228 passing yards, no touchdowns, an interception, sacked 4 times, quarterback rating of a 37.8. So he really didn't play that well. And I think a lot of that was because of how good the defense played. No J.C. Horn, the number one corner. It did show a little bit, especially on some of those drives late in the game where Chris Olave had just a freaking ridiculous catch. I know people were criticizing C.J. Henderson and stuff, but honestly, didn't think C.J. Henderson played that bad. He's not that good to begin with. There's a reason why the Panthers didn't extend his option. I thought he played fine. I don't think he's the reason they really lost this game. Chris Olave made probably one of the craziest catches I've seen so far this year. Rashid Shaheed also had that huge 44-yard gain in the past game where he absolutely just burns Dante Jackson. There's no help over the top. It just happens. It was really the only two big plays that were made this entire game. Panthers, of course, couldn't generate any of that, but the Saints did, and that ultimately led to this game being a wrap. And so, like I said, thought the Panthers played pretty well. We know that in terms of the box score, it doesn't look like Brian Burns played a great game, but because of the demand that he draws, it opened up sack opportunities for guys like Frankie Louvu, who's been playing phenomenal so far this year. He had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 9 total tackles, 2 quarterback hits. If it's not for the presence of Brian Burns, then Frankie Louvu can't capitalize on those opportunities. And Frankie Louvu did just that. Thought the safeties played great. Like I said, the 1 interception came from Von Bell. He also had 2 pass defenses too. Xavier Woods played really well, all over the field. C.J. Henderson, I thought, did an admirable job. He did fine for a backup corner. Can't expect too much out of him. Dante Jackson, outside of that one play, thought played pretty solid too. Camus Grugier-Hill even got on the board here. 1 tackle for loss, quarterback hit, and a sack. 6 total tackles. And I guess we'll get into it now. The Panthers have had the injury bug quite early so far this year. It has not been in their favor, the football gods. J.C. Horn out for at least 4 weeks with the hamstring injury. He's on the injury reserve list right now. We know that Brady Christensen, the starting left guard for the Carolina Panthers, he's out for the year with a bicep injury. On top of that, we know that Shaq Thompson just got hurt. I believe it is what they call a tibia injury. He's going to be missing significant time. This is a huge loss for the Carolina Panthers. Shaq Thompson, actually the only player, I think J.J. Jansen might be too, if I'm not mistaken on that. But Shaq Thompson, the only player on this defense who was on that Super Bowl roster, which feels like forever ago at this point. He was a rookie when that happened. He's been a leader of this defense. He's a captain of the team. Really, really freaking good player. Had 135 tackles last year. So versatile. Can drop back in coverage. He's a great football player and has been a huge part of this defense and a huge part of that rich linebacker history that the Carolina Panthers have. And so not having him on the field for the foreseeable future is going to be a huge loss. Even though the Panthers do have some good linebackers in place, it's still a big loss to have your leader of that defense in Shaq Thompson calling out plays not out there for the Panthers. They're going to have to adjust. And I guess we'll talk more so about that later on. But for the Panthers, thought the defense only let up 20 points. You will take that if your defense is only letting up 20 points. Any team that has a respectable offense is fine with that. But of course, the Panthers don't have that, and that's a big reason why they lost this game. Eddie Pinheiro made 2 50-yard field goals, including a career-high 54 in this game, 54-yarder, and he drilled it. Johnny Hecker had some great punts, 2 of them inside the 20, including one inside the 5, which did ultimately lead to a 3-and-out, I believe, for the Saints. So the defense and special teams did their part. Even that onside kick, the Panthers might have had a shot at it if the Saints, giving them credit, didn't recover it as smoothly as they did. If I forgot who it was, number 54 in the Saints, if he it bobbles in his hands, it hits off his hands, the Panthers have a shot at recovering it. So it was actually a pretty good onside kick. And again, you're pulling hairs at this point, praying, because the odds of an onside kick being recovered by the kicking team, it's like less than 1%. Does not happen very often. But my only criticism of the Panthers defensively really was the run game. This is the second straight game they've let up over 100 yards. Granted, the Falcons do have really good running backs with Bijan Robinson, a top 10 pick who has looked so good so far to start the year. And, of course, Tyler Algier, the second-year player out of BYU, who had over 1,000 rushing yards as a rookie last year. So they have a very, very good run game with talented running backs and a tough offensive line that can really generate holes for their running backs. Saints, they really struggled to run the ball against the Titans, and I thought maybe the Panthers have a shot here, but this is where a lot of their offense came from. Taysom Hill, when he's in there for the Saints, you're telling me that if you're the Panthers, right, and you're in the mind of the defense and Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator, Taysom Hill ain't throwing the ball. He's running. He's running that damn football. There's no way in hell he's passing it. 8% chance he's going to pass that ball. And yet they still couldn't stop it. Still couldn't stop him. Just pitiful. And it just felt like the Saints were able to pick up critical first downs with their running backs, Tony Jones Jr. and Jamal Williams. And this is a team that doesn't even have Alvin Kamara out there. So when the Panthers play them next, which I think is in a while, I don't think that they're playing the Saints until week 15. So it's not until December they play them. But still, like, they're going to have to deal with Kamara. And if Kendra Williams, the running back, or Kendra Miller, out of TCU comes alive, then that's going to make matters even worse. Oh my God. It is just a mess right now. But I credited the defense. I credited the special teams. Let's talk about the offense, guys. And this is what is the most painful. Where do I begin, guys? Where do I even begin? All right, we're going to talk about the play calling. And yes, it's only week 2, right? We just finished week 2. There's a lot of season left. We know the Panthers started off 1-5 and almost made the playoffs last year. We know that the year before they started off 3-0 and then only won 2 games after that start. So the season is still young. There's still a lot of ball left to be played. There's still adjustments left to be made by a first-year head coaching staff with a first-year quarterback. But this play calling is horrible. Absolutely horrible. The first 4 drives of the game, the ball touched 4 players on the Carolina Panthers' hands. And 2 of them is center Bradley Bozeman and quarterback Bryce Young. Two guys that literally have to touch the football pretty much every single possession. Miles Sanders and Adam Thielen, that was it. Those are the only guys who touched the football other than the quarterback and the center the first 4 drives for the Carolina Panthers. The play calling is horrendous. And I look at a team like the Rams right now who don't have Cooper Kupp. Cam Akers does not look like what he once did. They don't have Odell Beckham. They don't have Robert Woods. They don't have these electric guys. They got a fifth round wide receiver, Puka Nacua from BYU, who has feels like 100 catches in his first 2 games. And Tutu Atwell, who couldn't do a damn thing for the Rams throughout his career so far, is out there making plays. Sean McVay is scheming these guys open. The Panthers' offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown, in the game, right? Offensive coordinator, who does not call plays. Frank Reich still won't hand that off to him. And he comes from that Sean McVay, Rams tree of play callers who are creative and innovative and find creative ways to get the ball to guys and to help out their quarterback and to get this run game going and generate plays, confuse the defense. This Panthers offense is so boring and so predictable already. It's week 2. You haven't shown any of your plays yet. Nobody knows how this team's going to look. They have a brand new offense with all new weapons, and teams are still figuring out your offense. That is absolutely pathetic. Frank Reich, you need to be better. I have faith in you. I think you're a good head coach. I believe in the staff. But come on, especially when there's no star receiver, there's no star running back, there's no star on this offense. I couldn't even tell you who the best player is. I don't know. I don't know who the best player is. And you're doing nothing to help out your rookie first overall pick quarterback here in Bryce Young. And it's pathetic to watch. Starting with the receiving room, right? Adam Thielen, 7 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown, got a 2-point conversion. Thielen played well. I'm glad they got him more involved in this game. He seemed healthier out there than he did compared to the Week 1 loss against Atlanta. But Adam Thielen, at this point of his career, don't let the name fool you. He's a 30-some-year-old receiver, still a good player, but he's not that Adam Thielen we once saw in Minnesota, right? Age comes to get everybody. He's not that guy anymore. He's not going to generate these big plays like he once did back with the Vikings. And the Panthers didn't use him that way either. But none of these other receivers did anything in this game. DJ Chark, everyone's hyping up. Oh, DJ Chark's back. He's been dealing with injuries all preseason training camp. Didn't play in week 1. DJ Chark's back. Well, DJ Chark got 1 target for 15 yards and a catch for 15 yards. That's it. That's all he got. Jonathan Mingo was targeted a bunch, had some drops, had a critical 22-yard gain, but he wasn't used much. Chuba Hubbard, who I actually got to give him credit for, has ran the ball really well so far this year, gets 2 carries for 16 yards. Miles Sanders getting 14 for 43 yards. I'm sorry, and this hurts to say because I am a Penn State alum too, but Miles Sanders has looked horrible out there. And don't get me wrong, I think part of it, yes, he was hurt, didn't get any snaps really in the preseason other than I think in the last game against the Lions, so he could be a bit rusty. But the Panthers are using Chuba Hubbard as a 3rd down back, where he's got the most inconsistent hands on the freaking team. Chuba Hubbard is not a good 3rd down back. He's not good in the pass game at all. And the Panthers are using him that way. Had 5 catches in this game. Why? Why are they using Chuba? He's a downfield, in-between-the-tackles runner. That's what he does. And the Panthers are like, nah, he's going to be a 3rd down back. Why? The Panthers hype up getting Laviska Shenault. And, we're going to use him like Deebo Samuel. He had 1 carry for 7 yards. Didn't even get a target in the pass game in this game. What are they doing out here? I am just so confused. And I didn't talk about Bryce Young yet either. And he is a rookie. I'm not going to kill him. Thought he played better in the second half than he did in the first. 22 of 33, 153 yards. Averaged 4.6 yards per completion, guys. What offense is going to generate anything with that? Anything. And I thought he got sacked 4 times. Some of the sacks, I'll be honest, were his fault. I actually thought the offensive line played fairly well. Cade Mays wasn't great, but he wasn't horrible. And at this point, that's kind of all you're hoping for with this offensive line until Austin Corbett comes back. Thought the tackles played great. Ike Ekwonu, I thought, played terrific in this game. Moton's always solid. Bozeman's always solid. Zavala was fine. Bryce Young, again, did lead that charge down the field and got the 2-point conversion, made it a 3-point game where, honestly, it felt like the Saints were up 15 this whole game because they thoroughly outplayed the Carolina Panthers. But then they didn't. Like, the Saints couldn't run away from Carolina because Panthers defense played pretty well, but the Panthers offense could not execute. And that's how it's just felt with this team for the last 4 to 5 years. That the offense just can't do enough. And there's not enough playmakers, guys. And the Panthers, unless they pull off some miraculous trade and get T. Higgins or Devontae Adams, someone like that, it's probably not happening this year. This is going to most likely be the weapons that they're stuck with for the entire season. I don't even know if weapons is the right word. Probably not. But Bryce Young, he's going to continue to get better. Yes, he held on to the ball too long. The fumble was 100% his fault, and it came at a very critical time in the game where the Panthers could have put points on the board and at least gotten a field goal, which would have made this game hypothetically 20-20. But he didn't throw any picks. There wasn't too many, oh my God, that was a horrible throws made by him. I thought this was an improvement from game 1 to game 2, but at the same time for Bryce, he's not getting any help with the play calling. He's not getting any help with the receivers, nothing. And run game not doing a whole lot this game. He was able to get a 26-yard run, so he was able to execute quite a bit actually with his legs. But Bryce Young, for a guy who's so calm, cool, and collected, has looked kind of frazzled in his first few games. He's got to throw the ball away a little bit more and not extend the play because you don't want to develop those bad habits for a first-year quarterback. So hopefully for the Carolina Panthers, as much as I'm dogging them right now for what all of us, not just Panther fans, but everybody who wanted to turn on ESPN and watch this disgusting offensive performance from the Panthers, it is only the end of week 2. There is week 3 coming up. They're on the road against the Seahawks, a team that just put up, 37 points against the Lions? Yeah, 37 points against the Lions. That's obviously horrible. And it's been a rough season so far for the Panthers. Geno Smith was able to go yard a lot in that game against the Lions. Panthers do have a better defense than Detroit, but they do not have as good of an offense. I don't think the Panthers right now are at all capable of putting up 30 points in any game. It's been rough. I mean, Frank Reich's been optimistic, but it's been a rough start for the Carolina Panthers. Maybe against the Seahawks, a team that they did beat last year on the road, too, in Seattle. Maybe they can generate a win. I'm not expecting much, though, guys. If you're a Panthers fan, I hate to break it to you, but it is going to be a rough, rocky start to the season. Hopefully it gets better. Like I said, Bryce Young did play better in this game, but it seems that the Panthers are a lot further away right now from playing winning football and finding an identity than I thought they might be. And maybe that's just me being optimistic, but seems like it's a long ways to go and a brutal stretch here for the Carolina Panthers on the schedule. They're going to have to get some upset wins here. 3 of the next 4 games on the road against 3 teams that made the playoffs, and the other one being the Detroit Lions. So it is going to be an uphill battle, but I guess we're going to see in these next 4 games what the Panthers are truly made of and if they have what it takes to make a run here this season. But that's going to wrap it up, guys. I think I've beat the dead horse enough